So greetings.
Good afternoon.
Greetings and welcome back to the channel. For the viewers, if for the first time you're coming across this channel, please remember to subscribe. So today I wanted to have a organic flow conversation with my daughter. I already introduced her in the first video, but let's introduce her again. This is my daughter, Marley. Marley, greetings and welcome back to the channel.
Thank you for having me. Very happy to.
Right, so I've been waiting here for you, so I wanted to have a conversation about the different isms, like Marxism, socialism, etc. But I did not carry a note. I know you maybe feel better having an organized conversation, but I wanted to make it organic.
Okay.
So I would like to start with asking about the first one, which I think we are practicing. I wanted to start out by us, maybe you talking about capitalism.
I think capitalism is a good place to start because then we can work from right to left, sort of.
Right.
So capitalism would be something preferred by those on the political right.
Right.
And it bases things like production and ownership of production privately.
Right.
Things being private, corporations and means of production being private is a major pillar of capitalism.
Yeah.
The wealth is owned by a top minimal percent, and the rest of us work for them. That is the structure that maybe the way I explain it sounds a bit biased, as I don't believe capitalism works for us as a society. And when they try to convince you that it does, it's often a way. If it increases your wealth, you've got to think that capitalism is also going to increase the wealth of those above you. Wealth is never going to go up proportionately, which is why you have things such as Ronald Reagan's policy of trickle-down wealth,
right,
where you basically make the richer rich and hope it gets down to the poorest in society. That's something that capitalism tends to do. You prioritize those who have the ownership over the means and hope everyone else gets by. However, the powers that be will convince you that capitalism is a structure that means that anybody can pull themselves up from their bootstraps, i.e. the American dream is capitalism.
So to speak.
Meritocracy, you know?
Yeah.
You go, you work hard, you prosper.
Right.
Not taking into account the millions of hurdles that could be in place if you are an immigrant or a woman or disabled. There are many reasons why capitalism doesn't work for us as a society, which I'm sure you can see when you look out your window.
Yeah, because what I realize with this type of system is there is a few people that is very rich, and then like the 1% or the 2%, and then the other 98% of the actual people do not have.
Exactly.
Is actually, very poor or in the middle. So the way I see it is it's like a king or a queen, or they say it's democracy and they say it's working, but it's only working for a certain people.
Exactly. Because once if the factory owner passes away, the workers are not going to own their means of production after that. That factory is going to be privately owned by the next person who is going to continue to exploit the workers. And maybe this would be a nice time to segue into something a bit more left-leaning, like Marxism. Workers, or the proletariat. Yeah. Proletariat as the working class, and the bourgeoisie, the powers that be.
Before you come to the Marxism, I would like to jump to socialism, so that I could probably measure the two and see the difference.
Okay.
So if you would like to talk a little bit about socialism, because I do not know actually zero about socialism.
Well, Marxism is technically communism.
Right.
As, Marx and Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto, and that's where we learn about a lot of Marxism in general.
Right.
However, I don't believe that Marxism is that different to socialism, because under socialism, ideal socialist society, workers would have more control over their production.
Right.
It wouldn't be as private. You would centralize things like healthcare. You would start democratic socialism would put civil responsibility first.
Okay.
Healthcare. Make sure that places like prisons are not overcrowded. Yeah. They would basically provide bare minimum conditions that we deserve as a society.
Right.
Things like a living wage, you know, the minimum wage is actually a minimum wage. It's not enough for you to survive.
Yeah.
You getting paid £10 an hour is you're entitled to £13 an hour to live your life. You know? So in a socialist society, you would immediately be earning as much as it takes for you to survive. That's what you're supposed to have.
Okay.
I believe, I'm not sure how healthcare would operate. I'm not sure if it would be any better than it is now. But the idea would be that it'd be more accessible and to more, and there would be more affirming care that isn't private.
Do you know anything about Cuba and what type of things they practice? Do you know the Cuban?
I couldn't tell you a lot about the Cuban structure of communism
because I see that across the world they have so much healthcare people that is helping. Even in the Caribbean, like Jamaica, 90% of the doctors and nurses in Jamaica is actually
Now, because they are socialist, rather than in the most capitalist society, America, right? Doctors will need to go over $200,000 in debt just to become a doctor.
Right.
That's capitalism for you.
See.
In Cuba, that's not the case. If I wanted to study to become a real estate agent or a doctor, it would be equally as accessible to me as a working class person.
Right.
Therefore, you don't have these allocations of class where, you know, those can afford to be doctors can make their children doctors, or, you know, or I'm not going to cripple, the working class is scared of debt.
Yeah.
A lot of working class people aren't going to choose that line of work as one. You might have to get your child a lot of tutoring if you expect them to go into healthcare from young, as you're going to need to know that from A levels unless you do it later in life.
Right.
Then medical school, they usually have application fees. Then you're going to have to do things like residency. Your education itself is going to be a lot longer, so your student loan is not going to be more, but it's going to be extended. So rather than me getting a loan for 4 years, you're going to need one for 8 years.
Okay.
It's going to double your cost at the end of it.
Yeah.
So a lot of working class people will be like, I'm not even going to try to become a doctor. Maybe a nurse at best, because at least then you know it's doable for you, or it's obtainable. But back to Cuba.
Yeah.
Because they invest in their future, they know it's not beneficial to put people in hundred thousands of debt if they want to become a functioning member of society.
Okay.
And that's what socialism is. The society gives back to you because you give to it.
See.
Now, if we were to become socialist from where we are now, there would have to be a huge redistribution of wealth.
See.
Because in a socialist society, you can't have people living on the street and people living in houses with bedrooms that are unoccupied.
Right.
Simply doesn't work.
And that's why I also would like to swing to the Chinese, because I see the Chinese have a like a percentage of the Cuban ways or way of operating, and it also have a way of the West.
They have a very capitalist.
They have like a balance. I don't know, but they make it work.
They do make it work.
So what would you say that would call the Chinese method?
Capitalism.
It's okay.
I would absolutely say it's capitalism, just because it's not as bad as our Western capitalism. Because if you think about our Western capitalism, it's all aided by China. We need Chinese factories. We need Chinese products. China's where the sweatshops are. That's where capitalism is able to breed. However, you could work in a factory here in the UK. Well, you actually couldn't if you don't have a home.
Right, yeah.
But it's very easy for you to be homeless here in the UK. In China, they will make sure that you have a job. You won't be getting paid much.
Right.
But they will make sure you're in housing for it too. That housing will be subpar, but you won't be homeless. And not to say those are good conditions. You look at the sweatshops, working hours are way too long. Working conditions are not good. In the places they're living are tiny, and is often not a way to come out of this poverty, because you're stuck in it. You know, you're working 14 hours a day and can barely afford to feed yourself, and then doing it again tomorrow. How are you supposed to break the cycle? Right. That's why I say it's capitalism. There's no justice for the poor, but at least you're a lot less likely to be homeless. And on top of that, the Chinese government are not going to become sellouts for bureaucrats and sell away the future of the Chinese. What in places like the UK, they will send money and weapons to certain countries before they fix a pothole in your road.
True.
in China, they will make sure that they sort out what they have
That
with their
there
people first,
yeah.
and then go and put the money where they like after. They also support when Chinese nationals want to do things internationally and support them with this. I believe a lot of South Asian countries do this as well.
Yeah, I realize
they support their nationals when they want to emigrate and do things in other countries, which is good for society.
True.
And it also creates a positive outlook of those people in other countries.
And it also support the economy of the actual country.
Exactly.
Because I've seen, not to divert, but I've seen Afghanistan do that, where after the war, when they give them some money, they send people here to the UK to open up butcher shops and other places to open business with a part of that money. Because I've spoken to a few people who own these shops.
It's an investment.
And what they do, they employ Afghans that is here. And then the money from the wages they get to send back home to the family members. So
everyone's
right.
Exactly.
So,
it benefits everyone.
Right. So there's a way of doing it. But I like the way how, not that I know much about China, but I like the way how they balance the communism with the capitalism.
Yeah.
It probably no work for I don't think it's a majority of the people. It probably no work for a percentage of people.
I believe it doesn't work for percentages of the people, but unfortunately, it's the most ethical example of capitalism we've seen. That's why I find it funny when people say communism sounds good in theory but would never work in practice, because we're living in capitalism and it doesn't work in practice. But China is most certainly capitalist with communist approaches to their capitalism. I'd say a few reasons why I don't love their approach to it. I mean, I do like it better than Western capitalism, like I said. But there's censorship. There's a lot of censorship in China. And maybe this is because of the West or the other way around.
I also think it's not just because of the West, but because like Libya, people, it doesn't matter how much you give to the people, there is still dissent, and they don't understand. The people who is dissenting don't understand the motive of the West, because the motives of the West is to, in those leaders' opinion, is to bring the country down and the society. I use Libya as an example because when Gaddafi was doing what he was doing, Libya was a very peaceful in terms of the population and people that he's visiting, and also safe place. And by them removing the structure or the individual without thinking about the after effect, you see all this immigration or migrant they're complaining about, because it's all connected. It come from, I believe, the destabilization of these countries, and so the population of those countries like Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, all it start moving to find somewhere better to prosper. So it also, I would like to see these Western people try not to impose their not social their way of doing things to other countries and other places.
Understandable. Which is why I say I don't know if it's because of the West, because I don't think that China would censor if there was not reason to, because you know that
spreading democracy, or saying you're spreading democracy, the type of democracy that they say they have here and in America, it will not work in some place.
It's bureaucracy.
You understand? Yeah. So and it's also a lie, according to what I understand, because the reason why I said that if we change the subject is because we're having a conversation and there's no note, so we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
So the reason why I believe it's a lie is if this is a democracy, and you run an election and you win the election, why would you have said the need now to go to the king to get permission, or the queen to get permission to form a government if it's a democracy and you just win?
Well, I'd actually love to weigh in on that.
Yes, please.
More as a history student than anything. So, we have now in the UK what's called a constitutional monarchy.
Right.
Where we have a government as well as a monarch. Now, the monarch's power is very, very, very reduced in comparison to, say, the Victorian or Edwardian times.
Yeah.
However, there are still going to be traditions and practices that we follow as a result of the importance of this monarchy, kind of to justify keeping it around.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the monarchs and the royals get the biggest paycheck of us all for the smallest amount of work. So it needs to seem like they have power over the biggest institution in our society, which is the government.
Okay.
So I don't actually think it matters whether or not the monarch goes and approves of the prime minister and says, hey, you can form a government. I think it's more something we like to see as a country, and that we have seen as a country for hundreds of years. So we just think, oh yeah, this is right. The prime minister goes, he kisses the king's ass, and this is how society works. Which, unfortunately, that's how it is. I believe that monarchies should be abolished because it's a very old way of thinking, especially now that the king doesn't come and sign things or make laws or veto laws or anything like that.
I also believe different. You see, like how you explain it, I believe that the saying that they do not have any power or much power is just a saying. And the reason I said that is many governments in the short time I've been here have something called a manifesto. And they promise a certain thing to the public to get that vote. After they go and see those royal people,
they switch up.
I realize that they've been given a different manifesto, something else to do, and that's why whether they're Labour or Conservative or whoever, all the policies remain the same. So I believe is one kind, is a
they
kind with two heads. Yes, so it's all a
two-party state,
right?
But it's not.
So it's not. They don't have any power.
Now, I would love.
Yes, please,
So now the monarch could honestly be contributing to that, but what I think it is fundraisers and lobbyists. Now you've run your campaign and you've made it to office. You're going to further need financial backing,
right?
And lobbying is actually completely legal, which is so crazy to me because what it does sound like is bribery. It's legal bribery. If I have the money and corruption. You have the party and I give you the money and say, by the way, you might see more funds from me if you do things that help me politically. That's bribery.
Of course.
But it happens and it's legal and it's called lobbying. I believe that lobbyists are the main reason why we see people change their manifestos. Another thing I believe is that a lot of politicians don't come into politics with pure intentions. They kind of tell you what they want you to hear, what you want to hear until they win.
Right.
Keir Starmer, for example, sold us all dreams just to get into office and tell us that he's actually got family members that live in Israel.
Yeah.
So of course he's going to do things that show that Israel have a right to exist because he's got personal interest over there. The same way that Rishi Sunak's wife's dad is the owner of Shell. Like, there is no real democracy because it's bureaucracy.
And it's all of them, including, if you want to call name Cameron, all of them.
Exactly.
You know, so it is a bit, before it was a bit hidden.
But
now if your eye is open, you can see that it's corruption.
It is corruption
to the highest.
Yes,
you understand me?
And it happens in front of us because he said that in the House of Commons, told us how he's got family in Israel.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Now we know you're not impartial.
Right, and why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm very sorry to go from A to B, but while I have you for a short period of time, I wanted to get as much as possible. The last thing I want to talk about now is wars. And the reason why the war machine is so full of fuel.
Easy answer.
Yeah.
Money. so and there's many layers to it.
Right.
But when you're Okay, what's happening right now with Iran, Israel, Palestine, and the USA?
Yeah, guys, really fresh.
First of all, the Middle East has always been a solid attack point for America. Even everyone's favorite, Barack Obama, he's a war criminal. We all love to bomb the Middle East because you can easily, Arabs are amongst the most dehumanized or looked down upon in the West because of Islamophobia.
Yeah.
Especially in America. If you just accuse that person of being a terrorist and they look like one, you can do whatever you like to them.
Right.
So they justify, and again, I think this is manufactured intentionally.
Yeah.
This war on terror was manufactured to make people have a view of people who look like they could be Muslim, even though Muslim has no look. It's a religion, not a nationality. Yeah. But if they tell you that person looks like a Muslim, it's okay to think that they're evil, and actually it's okay to attack first because you were probably going to be attacked by them. So the first thing they do is make you look at these people than lesser than. Then they go in and they take the gold and they take the oil and they destabilize their government and turn it into a puppet state so it's easier to do these things.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that what they're doing in Iran, I think the same applies to Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they want the Gaza Strip is because of the resources it can provide. On top of this, as we know, Israel hasn't existed for long. So the reason they're even trying to claim that we have this right to exist in is colonialization. We're seeing colonialization.
I can see that is colonization. Mm-hmm. I can see that is also a form of where people, they want to make it into a resort.
Yeah. It's like even when Trump joked he was going to turn the Gaza Strip into another hotel, what they're doing is trying to create like an ethno-state.
I was listening to, recently I was just listening to the news a couple of days ago, and I see Netanyahu brought a letter. This is somebody that is wanted by the ICC. Brought a letter to give to Trump to say he's nominating Trump to get the Peace Prize.
The Nobel Peace Prize.
And I can't understand how people in their right mind. I listen to the news people and it's crazy how they think this is normal.
Well, they know it's not normal. That's the point. They're trying to convince you that's why, like, for example, I could never trust the BBC again after seeing what I've seen. Even when you watch, like, when the New York mayoral race was happening, it's like everyone has to pledge a certain allegiance to a certain people.
Yeah.
And I don't want the anti-S word to be thrown around because it's never been about religion and everything to do with that particularly brand new nation. It's got nothing to do with religion. You notice no one ever says Jewish people or Jewish this or Jewish that. No, it's Israeli. But they will tell you that But if you speak about Israelis or Israeli Zionists, they will call you anti-Semitic to silence you, and they've done this with Wiley. They do shit. They might do it with me. So
I tell you why they can't do it with you. Neither I.
No influence.
No, not just no influence, but those who know, that those of us who is the real Semite. So how can a Semite be anti-Semitic? You know, so let's get that out there. That those other people are actually fake Semite. They don't have nothing to do with the Asian people.
Israel's history doesn't even go back more than 3 generations. So they're not the descendants of anybody, but settlers like we saw in South Africa, an apartheid state. Settlers like, people who are not happy with how progressive the world has become. That's like the heaven for them. If you are blue-eyed and blonde-haired and you would like to see more of the same, somewhere like Israel, somewhere like you can call home, because it's a safe space for those people. It's not somewhere you go because you're Jewish. A lot of the Jewish people live in New York, one of the most diverse cities in the world. And so it's not about a safe space for Jewish people or Jewish people needing a space to exist, because we have remembered the Holocaust and we would never repeat it. We make this very clear. The Holocaust remembered, we never do it again. We can't forget about it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need to exile the Jewish people for one state for them. It's not like it's it's been done. You know, they can settle wherever they want
They
on
want
Earth.
to, yeah.
It's about certain people wanting a place for their own, which is okay, but you also can't justify that the genocide you're committing next door in order to
so
get to
you
that
want
point.
a place, but the other people should not have a place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is not fair.
It's not fair.
And I think that because it's become beyond that. It's more than just a war or a genocide. It's a war and a genocide that we're all seeing, that every major power and media outlet is trying to tell you is not happening.
There's something that I wanted to bring up about that as well, because there's many countries in the Middle East, or what they call the Middle East, but I noticed that Israel is the only one that appear on the Eurovision. What do you think? I said, do you know the Eurovision contest?
I know. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because they're European. Because they're European. The Israelis are not Arab. They are not North African. They are European. It's just that the territory, the nation just happens to be in that geographical area. Everybody who's from there, ask them. They'll be American. They'll be Belgian. They'll be German. They'll be white South African who was probably also a Belgian. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These are all descendants of the worst kinds of white people. Sorry to say it. And they're there because they know it, and that they still are the descendants of the worst kinds of white people. So they go there to rub shoulders with each other, and that's why they hate you so much. Because one thing that racists will always hate more than racism is being accused of being racist. And that's why when you say free Palestine, the Israelis gonna be like, you don't like Israel? You don't think Israel has a right to exist? You hate Israel? Like, it's nothing to do with hating Israel, but the fact that you have sympathy for or empathy for a group of targeted people makes them feel like you're targeting them, and the colonizer always behaves like that.
I hear you. Thank you so much. So I'm sorry to end it there, but I wanted to keep the video under half an hour so that
I think that's a great place to draw it.
So thank you very much for joining me on this conversation. Thank you to the viewers for watching till the very end. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And see you in the next one.
See you.
That was brilliant.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
Mr. President, is your Palestinian relocation plan still on the table? Is there a plan? Has there been any progress in finding countries to accept
Baby, why don't I let you answer that question?
Mr. President,
Wait a minute. Wait, he's got to answer the question.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future. And those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it. The freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it. Again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it.
To the thing, people are not subscribed. Please subscribe, and the subscription is